What's up, everybody? We've got an amazing video for you showing you how you make this quilt in less than 50 seams using some of the easiest tools on the market. Let's do this. Diving right on into it, we are using the Sew Yeah Vegas strips or 6.5-inch strip rolls here. I've got a basic color, the white, and I've got my prints right here. And in front of me, I've got, rotary cutter, scissors, seam ripper, the basics here, nothing fancy. All whites, and then we got some super cool colors, kind of got some spunk. Almost has like a 70s, 80s kind of vibe to it. Anyways, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull out 14 of my white pieces here. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, yay! Now what I need to do here is I'm gonna take my 6.5-inch strips and I need to subcut them down to 24 inches. I'm going to start laying them down right on top of each other. I'm going to line them up in a way here that I can cut off my salvage edge on the left side, measure over 24 inches, and I'm going to cut all 14 at a time. I've gone ahead and stacked up all 14 of my pieces here. You shouldn't cut this much, but in this particular instance, I've got a brand new blade in here. Then just a friendly reminder, we need 24 inches, and if you need help looking at the numbers or anything like that, down in the description below there's a free pattern explaining how this all works. But I'm going to come down to here, which will be my 24-inch mark. Just doing my double check here, and I'm going to go ahead and cut it. All of this can be used for binding. Maybe if you want to make a smaller version of it, you could use the rest of this, or this is just really good scrap to have. I'm just gonna hit this with a little bit of steam, a little bit of ironing, just to get this crease out of my center fold, and then we're gonna move on to the next step. We're already in the sewing stages. We made, what, 3 cuts right on into sewing. So this uses a technique that is very common in the Bargello world. We are going to sew our little white strips here, and we're going to grab one of our prints here, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up with my salvage edge because I need to cut that off anyways. I'm going to sew directly across right sides together, and what we are building here is a loop, and this loop is what's going to give us the effect of the backdrop here. And then I'm going to go to the other side, again lining up with that salvage edge. So, we got a tube here. We're gonna repeat this step 14 times to get all the strips that we're gonna need to make the quilt behind me. If you like the way that it's coming off your strip set, then use that. However, if you wanna pick and choose, go ahead and do that as well. And we're going to just make all these and stack them all up. So I've got all my strip sets sewn here, and there's definitely enough extra here that you can make a pillow sham, maybe even 2 pillow shams to go along with the quilt. It is time to do the cutting here. Now, since I'm going in the order of our Vegas strip set here, I want to keep it this way. So I'm going to just go top to bottom and do all my cutting. So the trick on how this all works and how you get it to look random is because it is an actual random cut. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my first one here, I'm going to fold it over on top of itself, and I'm going to cut randomly right in this area. Now you don't want to get too close to the ends here, you want to cut towards the middle section, but you can go over from middle up to like 3 or 4 inches. On this particular one, I'm going to cut real close to the middle. You guys can see how it's made that strip set. I'm going to fold this back over here. I've got extra fabric here because of my salvage edges. We're going to just take a pair of scissors to those as well. Ready to sew, ready to go. Super simple to do here. Now I'm just gonna keep repeating this process, and I'll show you guys kind of along the way here. So you can see on this one, since I cut further on to the left, I'm gonna have a much bigger piece on my right and a much smaller piece on the left. It's the vibe of the quilt. So again, I'm just gonna keep on going and finish cutting these up. I do know that there's somebody at home that's like, Teancum, that's not the straightest cut there. You have to realize that the cut that we're making in the middle of our strips here will eventually become the edges of our quilt, which then we're gonna square up anyway. So if you're a little bit off, it's not going to matter. We have finished up cutting all of these strips here. Super simple to do. And now it's time to sew this whole quilt together. At this point, we've already done all of our cutting and about 2/3 the sewing that we need to do to complete this quilt. So all I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna open this up. I'm gonna open up my next one. But one thing I do want to make sure of as I am doing this, we don't wanna get super wacky or super off center here. I wanna make sure that I don't have 2 long pieces next to each other, which I don't in this case. So right sides together. we're going to just rinse and repeat and just do that to all of our pieces here. Two things to keep in mind though as we are doing this. One, if your ends don't line up perfectly, it's okay. We're going to cut them off at the end anyways. Second thing is, you want to make sure that you're alternating which side or which end you're starting on. The reason being is if we sew everything down one side, it normally tends to curve or bend. And to help alleviate that, as we alternate sides, it will help bend it back in both directions. Let's do this. So guys, before the big and final reveal here, it's time to square up this project. Now, your edges on all this are a little bit wonky. Like I'll show you the edges here. You can see that they're all wonky just because the fabric itself is going to be different size lengths and we didn't account for any of that when we're doing our cutting. But it's so easy to solve on this project. What I'm going to do, I'm going to fold it in half and we're trying to get our top and our bottom edges to line up with each other, which I'm looking really good here on this top. Now I got to make sure I got it on the bottom. Can you pull on that? There we go. So my top edge and my bottom edge are both lined up here, so I'm going to just flatten everything out here. This is where you need your third hand to help you out a little bit. Go, go. It's time to fold this in half the other direction. Roll it over the top here. In this state, we can now square this up and it be perfectly square. How we're going to achieve this is first we're going to start with our top edges here. I'm going to line up my quilt top, this edge on my left and my bottom edge with the mat. Now with my rotary cutter, I'm going to just take off the slightest little bit. I'm also lining everything up with the lines on my cutting mat here. You can see that I'm taking off maybe 1/8 of an inch. So it's not very much out of square on this one. Now it's time to go on to the other side here. Now just to make sure my cuts are a little bit better accurate, I'm going to fold this end to the end that I just cut. That way I can do this in one pass. I'm going to turn it. Now for my last cut, which will finish off this quilt top, I'm going to lay down my ruler, again using the lines on my cutting mat here, and I want to take off the smallest amount possible. This one right here is only about 1/8 of an inch. However, we got some bigger pieces in there, which is completely fine. But we're going to send it. Now for the final reveal. So guys, just like that, our quilt top is finished. This is such a fun and easy project to make, and it's less than 50 seams, so you could easily knock this out in an afternoon. You saw the notions that I've used in this. A ruler, a rotary cutter, a pair of scissors, super simple. So guys, at this point, just want to thank you for watching today's video, and a friendly reminder again, down in the description below, there's a free PDF download on how you make this. Thank you so much for watching again, and we'll see you next week.